good friend John Hickox and I took off on this day, March 8th, 2021, from Vleuten, the town where he lives, and you can see it's quite bumpy leading out of his house area, the neighborhood where he lives, which is pretty close actually to downtown, so we're riding on the brick road, the bumpy road, so I got a little shake here, but this is the GoPro video I made from clips of our ride today, going from Vleuten, riding north up through towns called Breukelen. I think where Brooklyn, New York got its name from. Breukelen, spelled a little differently, but we ended up on the Amsterdam-Rhine-Canal later on, and it was really just a great ride. I'm playing around with this GoPro camera. It's John's camera, but he hasn't used it so much, and so now I'm trying to learn for him as well, and playing around and recording some of these great rides that we get to ride in the Netherlands as I come on my trips and have my nice layovers. And we've been cycling friends for a very long time, but friends ever since we were small boys, growing up in Niles, Michigan, and Grand Avenue back in the 70s. So we really, though, have been able to do all these great bike rides, and I just wanted to record and show some of these areas that we ride through. This is close to where the Castel de Har is, and we're riding north, so I can't really describe exactly all the places that we're riding. We ride on some roads, but mostly bike paths and some narrow lanes, but there's so many great places to ride bikes. It's just a country, of course. The Netherlands is a huge country for cyclists. Here we are slowed down. This is the little rest we got as we going past this pool where the children are getting out. You see so many of the parents are coming with the bikes to pick up their children and go home after school. So we had to navigate our way around here in the small town. Lots of people everywhere always on bikes, as the Dutch are such keen cyclists, and there's cycling paths and ways to go around the whole country by bike. So like I said, I'm experimenting with this GoPro camera. I've got it mounted on my handlebar. I'm riding a Bianchi steel frame. It's actually my bike that I brought over and I leave at John's house. And this is a frame I purchased back in Holland, Michigan in 1989. It's a Columbus SLX steel tubing. It was in the 1980s, late 80s. That's pretty much all you had to choose from was steel. There was some aluminum bikes, I think, coming in, and then, of course, in the early 90s, titanium and then carbon fiber has taken over, but it's still a great bike. This Bianchi, I've got a couple of parts on it. Unfortunately, I had to replace the front fork, so I don't have the original fork. Here, I almost hit John. As we're making a left-hand turn, there were some other cyclists coming in, so I had to stop quickly and navigate our way back around and come back up on his wheel. Typical Dutch towns with the bridges, lots of bridges from all the canals. All the bridges need to be able to go up so you can pass boats through, but the countryside is magnificent. This is early March, March 8th, like I said at the beginning, where the weather was in the 40s, mid-40s Fahrenheit. I think around 7, 8, 9 at the most degrees, and the sun was out some. It was actually not so cold, not so much wind either, so it was a great day to be out riding. I overdressed a little bit, but following John quite a bit here. You see a little bit of fast action where I was playing with the time-lapse video part. Actually, I have not mastered this GoPro at all. This is the second ride I've got recorded on video, so I did shorter clips than the first one we did. Maybe I'll post that video as well. But this gives you an idea of the kind of countryside, the different bike ways and terrain that we get to ride along. This nice house is along the water on the left here, you can see. trade off on poles, but he was riding pretty well today, and it's nice to ride on someone else's wheel, of course, where you get the draft, but you can come see all the nice little towns and ways. The road today is pretty fantastic every week to come and ride in the Netherlands and see all the different sites and get out on the roads and exercise. If I knew all the names of the towns, or if I could read the signs, I would share that with you, but unfortunately I just followed John. I get to look on the map afterwards, on the Strava map, which actually I have at the very end of this video, so you can see where we did ride. It's basically a northerly route. We're in kind of a central part of the Netherlands. Close to Utrecht is where John lives, in a town called Vleuten. It's a little, I think, southwest of Utrecht. Utrecht's a university town. Tons of cyclists. I've been in cycling traffic jams in that town before, and so many people on bikes. But we skirted around Utrecht as we headed north. South, so the wind was not very significant today. A little bit felt more like out of the west. Some days can be quite strong. Not so much traffic out today. On the weekend, some of these routes get pretty congested with cyclists and motorcycles, but today, not so many bikes out. It's on the weekend, and also it wasn't a super warm or nice day, but still several people out riding. I always like these bridges, going through these bridges, so I was using the camera, the GoPro, just to press the button and off of the video. Last ride I was using the voice commands, but I don't think I was quite using them perfectly correctly, but it was going on and off, and sometimes stayed on longer than I intended. Yeah. So I'm still working out the kinks of this GoPro, but the wide angle gives a great view of where we're riding, and some of the places aren't quite as scenic as others, but all just great terrain. To have all these specific ways to ride. Here, a small road and then a separate bike lane on the side.
This is the Amsterdam-Rhine-Canal. John just for me.
John is riding his MMR bike. MMR is a brand that comes out of Spain. He is a dealer in the Netherlands for it. During the pandemic, it was a difficult time to get bicycles last year. He's getting a few bikes here and there and building them up for his customers. Here we are riding now along the Amsterdam-Rhine-Canal, ARC, they call it the ARC, Amsterdam-Rhine-Canal, waterway that connects to Amsterdam. You can see the freight ship that we just passed. But beautiful area, so it's a great area for if you want a long stretch to do a time trial. And not even during the busy times, not so much traffic, and you can really go out hard either. Sometimes with a nice tailwind, or sometimes into the headwind. Now we're working our way back south, back towards John's home in Vleuten. Cross back over to the other side, back to some more small towns, and then alleyway, so we had to brake a little bit abruptly before we got in, and that's where the ride ended today.
Yeah, it's shorter, but we went harder. Said we were shorter today, but we went harder.
That's why one of the reasons I went a little harder also,
Yeah.
because it was shorter.